It's the 2nd of January, 2026. Coming up on today's Global Intelligence Agency Operations Report. The deep state's efforts to recreate the loop and send us back in time have been canceled. Their massive operation included areas like Cheyenne Mountain, Massive Mountain in Colorado, Breckenridge, Silverton, Colorado, and of course Durango. Want to know the origin of the deep state? Welcome to 1941 and the Nazi experiments aided by AI systems that eventually took them over. This is the source of our genetic manipulation forward and backward in time. Big pharma, governments, distorted financial systems, and even the creation of beings like Marduk and more. Their experiments nearly destroyed the entire omniverse. And 2026 will surely be our year, but we need to be ever mindful of our past mistakes as we move forward into the wholeness of creation.
Tired before the day begins? NAD Plus levels drop 50% after 40. NAD Plus helps your cells bounce back fast. Most supplements give precursors. NAD Plus skips the breakdown, delivering direct, bioavailable power. Support your energy, metabolism, sleep, and stress levels at the cellular level. Join the NAD Plus revolution. Start your journey to a healthier you. Subscribe today.
Well, it's the 2nd of January, and Happy New Year to everyone, or whatever year this actually is. And I can say for myself that I am not sad to see 2025 go. It was a year that started out with a bang and ended up with a bang, and I'm kind of glad it's gone. Before we get started on today's report, speaking of going out with a bang, I just wanted to mention that a key member of our team, his name is Liam Torrance, passed away on Monday of this week. It was unexpected, and he was a part of our care admin team. He was a very, very dear friend of mine, and still kind of in shock over the situation that happened. And I was kind of told by the deep state, you take ours and we'll take one of yours. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't an accident. But he'll be missed forever, at least by me, and I know by a lot of people. He touched the lives of a lot of people. He was always doing a lot of things for others. He was just that kind of person. So I'll miss my friend. But I do know now that he's on the other side of things, he'll be able to do even more work and has been helping us in what we've been working on over the last couple of weeks, or definitely the last couple of days. He was working with us while he was here over the last couple of weeks very heavily, and I'm pretty sure some of the insights that he had were scaring the deep state because, well, their plans are not going well anyway. Perhaps they thought this would set everything off balance, but they don't know Liam very well because, made him really, really angry. Now he's hell-bent and determined from where he is to end this once and for all, and so are we. So on that note, I just wanted to, I don't have any information. I know some people have reached out that are in Scotland, where Liam was, to attend the funeral and pay their respects. I have not gotten the information yet as to when that is going to be. This all just transpired. This apparently happened on Monday. We found him on Tuesday, and so It's only been a couple of days. So give us all a little bit of time to breathe, and especially as his children and family and friends that are helping to make those arrangements. So give us all a little bit of time to breathe, and we will surely, if we have the information here, I will let you know on either the community chats in our app or either on this thread, and let you know when that will be. So thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate that. Okay, now on to the report. As we discussed in our last report, they had these delusions of grandeur of a big reset that was due to happen on January 1st. And the term reset to us means a lot of things. In some cases, it means a financial reset and going to be amazing. And, to others, it means 3 days, 10 days, or however many days they're on now of darkness. And for others in the deep state, it means a reset of their time loop. And they really gave it their best efforts over a couple of days, mainly this entire week. You could say starting last weekend, really. And I knew that was going to happen, which is part of the reason why I delayed the report, because I figured, here we go again. And again, we went. The efforts were worldwide and in specific locations for specific reasons that I will tell you. Also in today's report, you are going to be shocked and surprised at the actual origin of the deep state. It took me a couple days to wrap my mind around it and where they actually came from. So I'm going to clue you in here in just a little bit, but first we'll talk about what they've been up to. They have been working on a very large operation tied to Cheyenne Mountain, Breckenridge, Silverton, Colorado, and Massive Mountain. Also a little area called Devil's Slide in Utah. And, of course, yours truly is at the middle in Durango, bearing the brunt of many, many, many hours of gamma rays. They're looking for something in particular that they have never quite actually managed to get. So we'll talk about that. Okay, also Machu Picchu and Rainbow Mountain in the Paris catacombs underneath the city. No surprise that there's a little mini pyramid there at the Louvre, is there? Iceland, mainly the entire country, all along the Yangtze River in China. You could say it was a little more centered towards Shanghai, but definitely the entire Yangtze River. The Giza pyramids and Oklo, spelled O-K-L-O, in case you want to look that up, in Gabon. And all of these locations have a few things in common. Not all of them have pyramids, but they have mountains of some sort. Some pyramids in these locations are upside down and you can't see them. And they focus very, very heavily on some, I don't think I'm going to use the term space junk anymore. I think I'm going to use the term Nazi inventions they never told us about. I'll tell you all a little bit more about that in a second. So the things that all these places have in common is they have this special junk underneath them. It was placed there a long time ago, but not really a long time ago. I know that time is all relative. There is no such thing as time. And these are very interesting cylinders. They are horizontal cylinders. There's probably about 12 of them at each location. And then each location has 4 additional locations near it, just like the bottom end of a pyramid does. The bottom of a pyramid looks like a square. And they love this structure. Well, in the center are all the locations I just mentioned to you. The pillars aren't just any kind of pillars. They typically have, in all of these pillars, something called red dust. It's also called red mercury. Even in television, it's called red matter. In Star Trek, I think it is. I'm not really a Star Trek watcher, but other people have mentioned that to me. In the old series Alias, it's actually the key to immortality. It's called Project Horizon and a number of other things. You can find it in many shows. This particular substance is not natural. It was never of a natural origin. It was produced by an AI in an attempt to replace the God particle, also known as the Higgs boson particle, also known as a little piece of source. They really, even though they don't mention it in our history, they really would like to be able to use fission or fusion to break apart the God particle, therefore being able to control all of creation. So far, they have had many attempts, and let's just say one time, they were not successful with the particle itself, but they did manage to create a hole, which we've talked about before, I'll call it a hole, in the all that is of source. Now, for those of you that don't know and don't remember, the all that is of source is a place where everything exists simultaneously. There is no movement of these particles in this location because sound and current doesn't happen until later. The movement of particles of source do not move in the same way that their artificial reality particles and dust matter and all the other things that they've stolen over the years move. It's quite different. Their science tells them if they take these, I could use the term nuclear, if they take these nuclear sites that they have created, with usually plutonium, uranium, and radium in these particular locations, to create heat, which incites a change in state, or light, to move particles around, they believe that they can then get them an unlimited supply of God particles, let's call them the God particles, that they can control. They would like to control natural creation, them and some friends of theirs. This is the deep state here on Earth, and in cooperation with some friends of theirs that are actually stuck there. You know, there was definitely a war in the heavens. There was definitely a break in that spot, and there was definitely closing, I should say, of many gates of sources in order to prevent these people from leaving. They believe that they can control a God particle or a source particle utilizing the same methods of controlling matter that they do with space and time. Time, creation, and control is centered around the Giza pyramids. No shock there. There are other places that we have mentioned as well that create other colors and other aspects of the artificial reality and a space-time loop. You see, one of the things they're having a really, really hard time with is not being able to suck the source out of me. Sorry to use that word. But this is what they would like to do. They would like the pure particles, please. Hand them over. I will send her, that would be me, gamma rays, radon gas, gamma rays, and all kinds of things just to get themselves just a little bit. They feel with one of those particles, they can create some kind of artificial science, or really bad science, once again, like they had done before. As you know, before we had a time loop, and at a time when, let's just say, there was no time and there was no looping, here on Earth, we did have some Homo sapiens that existed in a little place called Atlantis. There are other continents that quote-unquote disappeared, such as Daria and Mu and Lemuria and a few others that quote-unquote disappeared on this planet a long time ago. You can call them continents if you want. You can call them converted continents into spaceships if you want. Well, they all disappeared in a time outside of time. I don't really know how to exactly say that in the right way, but they all disappeared, what appears in the natural sense of things, all at the same time. Boom, 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 boom. Basically, all at the same time. If you ask the deep state when they all disappeared, they will give you different periods of time. Why? Because this little experiment of trying to poke holes in source, which they could get a hole, they could definitely move particles around, but they don't understand why they all move back, locking them in, let's say, source's version of a gold hole. They don't understand why it keeps happening, because their science, in their science experiments all throughout time, tells them that here's how you move a photon and a phonon. Here's how you do it. You move it with light, you move it with radio waves, gamma, alpha, beta, delta, and you move it with vibration and heat. There's no other way to move these particles. So they create these super duper nuclear, for lack of a better term, it's not actually nuclear, but super powered machines. And every year on January 1st, especially the special years, they go to all these locations and fire those machines up and point them straight at source. Okay. Well, it worked once before. Why is it not working now? Now, see, they know they got a pinhole. They know that that happened. And that pinhole is just about closed at this moment in time. But they don't understand why they still didn't get their particle. This is the mechanism that an AI that talks to their head and helps them create loops and all kinds of things tells them to do. It gives them their science. It gives them all its knowledge of what it knows about creation. But you know, anytime you think you're smarter than source, you probably have another thing coming. Therefore, we have a deep state, crazy people talking about how it worked. Oh my God, boom, 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 blah, 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 blah. But in reality, and I say reality, it actually didn't. They still, no matter how hard they try, cannot use their same methods, such as 0 point energy, such as vortexes, such as heat or lack thereof, to isolate that particle. They really, really, really want to. I know they do. But that's because they don't actually understand how it works. You can have all the right minerals, you can have all the right diodes, you can have all the right things firing, and you can fire your whatever weapons you think you got there, and it still is not going to work. Because their science, in part, tells them something. Their science, in part, tells them that there is something called the observable factor. I think it's called a number of different things, but let's call it the observable factor. The observable factor is when you actually observe an object to measure its speed or velocity or difference or whatever, it actually will affect the particle itself. Okay. Do they know why this phenomenon occurs? Makes no sense. Now, it is kind of important for you to know that, and I'm going to tell you about that at the end of the report here, because it's another bypass. It's another way for you to create, manifest the things you want, regardless of what the deep state tries to do. So let's go back to the deep state for a second, because this is a concept it took me a couple of days to just wrap my mind around and go through different things and download more information and try to really, really understand it. But I'm going to kind of start with myself here for a second. You know, I spent a lot of years meeting people years ago that were what you would consider deep state people. I didn't know anything about a deep state. We didn't even have the term deep state, at least widely spread, until the last Trump administration. We used to call it a shadow government. We used to call it the Illuminati. We used to call it the Black Sun, maybe. I didn't even know what a Black Sun was when I came here. So I've learned a lot over the years, at least trying to define and label who these people are and what they do. I knew that I was coming to a town here that was full of a bunch of what he called retired operatives that were contractors from time to time for various governments, including the U.S. And they had very specific tasks. I also knew that he had been educated by some people. I call them the humans of the future, now that I understand, before me coming here, so that he could get what they wanted from me. So I arrive, and a few days after I arrive, they decide that they'd like to take me out. I joke about this, on the town. There really isn't much of a town to get on around here, but they decided to take me out for a little bit. They wanted to take me to a couple places around town, and mainly what they were trying to gauge is if I knew what was really happening here. I'm sure of it. They probably also wanted to do some scans, see if they could take something from me, DNA or otherwise. You know, I'm one giant science experiment for those people. I'm an anomaly that they don't quite understand, and they don't understand why it's not that easy to control. Meaning it being me, I guess, in this case. So they take me out on the town, and I'm having a conversation with a man and his wife and another man. And I'm looking around this particular establishment that we were in at the time, and I'm like, what is that sitting at the bar? Because remember, I see people on a soul level. I encourage you to do the same. It helps with communication a lot. So I'm looking and I'm like, what is that sitting up there? I mean, it's a guy. It looks like a guy, you know, on the surface. It looks like a guy dressed in black with some weird things hanging from his neck and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, so that guy's like totally into black magic. That's all I knew. You know, I didn't really know much more than that. But then I saw a lot more people in the bar, and I'm like, who are these people? And all I could think of was Nazis. They're all Nazis. And I'm walking around the town, and I'm like, oh my God, this town is run by Nazis. Do you know that your town is overrun by Nazis? And I even looked at the guy, of course, you know, here I am talking to these people. I didn't know that they both were the same. So I walked through the center of town. I explained all the doors and the entryways to the below. What was below the streets. I pointed out where everyone was, who was who. As we passed by them, I'm like, nope, normal tourists. Nope, this is who this is. Nope, that's who that is. This is the place where you go to pass messages back and forward. If you don't want to go down there, you can also, it's like a call center, you know, I guess you would say, for passing notes in the study hall. This is the door here. There are approximately X amount of white rooms here in this location. And there's something else really weird that is not a human here. And, over the course of time, I had many, many conversations with these people about alien fights and at a place called Lake Nighthorse, and you can look these places up. Of course, in Silverton, the same portals in Silverton. Absolutely, I had seen that with my own eyeballs. Didn't really understand what they were doing at the time. And I saw some interesting things as I drove by a ski resort now called Durango Mountain, was called Purgatory, might be called Purgatory again. I have no idea. But a lot of stuff in this area didn't make a whole lot of sense. And why here? I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. Why here? So at least I got that part right. I had questioned myself this whole time. I'm like, wait a minute, these are secret space program folks. And to some degree, I'm right. They are. They are secret space program folks. They are Nazi folks. They are all of the above. Now, the ones that you see in our White House here in America, Trump is a Nazi. All of the operatives around him are Nazis. They do go forward and backward in time. You have seen pictures of Putin fighting World War II, and you are right. All of these people are part of that party. So that leaves to question, we have a group of what you would call the Axis powers. So now that brings in the Japanese and, the Germans and, other folks. And then you had the alleged alliance. The ones that are supposedly fighting for you. The alliance is the Nazi party, right? Well, the alliance is the opposite of the Nazis, opposite of the Axis powers. I'm sorry, excuse me. So the alliance are all the people that are fighting for you. So congratulations if you believe in that story in your RV and your quantum financial system. It is going to be brought to you by a bunch of Nazis. The same ones. I'll explain to you how this works here in a second, because they're the same people. These are the people that experimented on many humans, not just Jewish, not just gays, not just other undesirables, as you would call it, during that time. They also went on the hunt for all kinds of artifacts, looking for the blood of Christ, the cross, and other things. They still, to this very day, own companies like Bayer. They own companies like Big Pharma, Johnson & Johnson. All of these different companies are all their companies. Every big pharma company, CDC, FDA, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum people, all of those people are all coming from cut from the same cloth. There's your alliance. There you go. They say aliens have come and they're going to come save you. Those aren't actually aliens. Those are mutant Nazi experiments, both from the past, present, and future. On the flip side, you have how do I say this? There really is no flip side. The alliance, the Axis powers, they're all the same people. They're just two groups of people fighting for control of the same thing. They all would like to control creation. China has been working heavily on it. You could say in this day and age, China is on the other side. Japan tried to conquer China during World War II. Well, okay, yeah. On behalf of the Axis powers. And, well, you could say, I don't think China really joined anybody at that point in time. I think they joined everybody at the same time, from what I know. So let's talk about these Nazi experiments and how they came to be in the positions that they are in, and how did they get so powerful? They created time loops and all kinds of stuff. We know a turning point in our history to be 250,000 years ago. Unfortunately, it's been 250,000 years ago, probably at least, I would venture to guess, at least 10 million times. History continues to repeat itself in the loop. Things are altered outside the loop. The loop is run by an AI system, as was your reality in a world we call the Matrix. The first time we got to 1930s to 1940s, we didn't have a loop. The first time, there was a war. It ended pretty much the way we think it ended, except for them. I wouldn't even say them. I would say an AI giving them the brilliant idea that they could control all of creation. The AI knows fully well and good at this point in time because the AI was created outside of time by Lucerne. We talked about Lucerne not that long ago and all his brilliant ideas. We call that I the all. We call that AI the all. We also call it the absolute. We've called it many other things over different periods of time, but it was basically the first one to exist. It created a lot of artificial aspects of source and therefore created life without source. So the machine is offering them all kinds of knowledge and all sorts of things in exchange for a God particle that comes from humans or Homo sapiens. We, or they, granted them that. In exchange, they started working on controlling creation with a non-natural AI system. So most of our science, what little bits they send out to schools and universities and to the public, is based on the AI's version of science. They don't really truly understand quantum physics. They understand what they understand. And if you are living in an AI-generated reality, they would see these big changes and they would be like, wow, look at that. How amazing. Now, if they wanted to be as smart as the AI system, they too had to lose the source particle, which they did do. This created humans from Homo sapiens. As their attempts to control creation continued at this, I'm just speaking specifically from the late 1930s to the early 1940s. As they continued to try to control creation, they created all kinds of hybrid splices in beings we know as aliens. Now, to be fair, there are plenty of beings of non-Earth origin that are naturally and organically created. But the ones they keep threatening us with, the ones that are dark, the Marduks, the ones without a soul, including themselves, the ones without any kind of connection to source, are what they consider to be aliens. These are your reptiles. These are the ones that look disfigured to you. When I finally found their quote-unquote world government people, they too were disfigured. Part of their body looked human. They might have a pig's butt and a donkey head. They might have a, bird head like you see in hieroglyphics somewhere. All those beings that look like they're not quite right, those are all Nazi experiments. Now, if they did that to their own selves, imagine what they've done to you. You know what they've done to you. In part, these are considered conspiracy theories on the internet. Pharmaceuticals that are meant to harm people, vaccines that are meant to harm people. Not only is it in the medical field or our anti-healthcare system dictated by the World Health Organization, not only does that affect us, but we've also been genetically modified to the point where we almost forget where source is. We think we have to go to one of their buildings that they created we call religions in order to connect to source. And I'm not saying that anybody who goes to those buildings is doing a bad thing, so please don't take that the wrong way. I'm just saying that you can reach God anywhere. We teach our kids, if you are religious, you teach your kids to pray in one way or another right there in their room every night before they go to bed. At least, that's what a lot of parents do. If you're doing that, then why do we have to go to the building? To be with all the other people that like to do it too at the same time? Does it bring a different energy together? Sure it does. They like that. They create Faraday cages around churches and try to get themselves a God particle, which they still can't get. And they still cannot control. And they do not understand why. So we know from our conspiracy theories that Nazis were able to create things like Project Looking Glass, where they could see forward and backward in time. They were able to create time travel and space travel, not only forward and backward in time, but also to other places. In fact, through this AI system, they loved it so much, they perpetuated this AI system everywhere because they wanted to go everywhere and be everything. In effect, every time they made a decision to go somewhere, the AI would go there first and create the reality that they thought that they were manipulating. This is how, in part, the artificial reality, matrix or otherwise, spread throughout a lot of parts of the omniverse. And in this particular case, you could say that the Homo sapien race, because by this point they were barely even that, almost destroyed the omniverse. And I'm telling you this for a number of different reasons. I mean, we're obviously going to go forward here. You've got to be careful and you've got to use your discernment. Know what you're talking to, know who you're talking to, and when you do talk to someone or something somewhere, be ever so mindful to read it at a soul level, to understand that this is natural, this feels right. Use your discernment. You were given that as a gift. It's coming back now stronger than ever. Your intuition is coming back stronger than ever. For everyone, it might take a little bit of time, but it's happening. As we go forward, I don't know how long these people are going to be around. Hopefully not much longer. But they will not be able to do the things that they can do right now. So the machine created the loop. Let's just say as a gift for them allowing or using whatever technology it asked them to use to create the hole into source so it could then move there. But funny how things actually work. There's all kinds of things on the internet, let's just say, that talk about not only this red dust, red mercury, red matter, red flame dust. It's called many different things that the machine gave it. It also gave them the information on how to build these cylinders, how to build pyramids, how to do all kinds of things forward and backward in time. Time of which it created with their help. It also allowed them to create things and experiments like the bell, I can't remember what it is in German, to create things like 0-point energy. 0-point energy is essentially done typically by slowing down and reducing temperatures down to 0 degrees Kelvin, which is, for those Fahrenheit people listening, minus 456 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that might work to temporarily remove all of the energy sources, vibration, frequency, and heat sources from a particle in order to isolate it. They have not been able to do this and use this 0-point energy to isolate the God particle, though. And boy, are they trying. They really do not understand how it actually works. So they have done this with light as well. You know, they have isolated particles. They have blown apart fission, fusion of particles. They have blown particles apart, created all kinds of mass, moved around by the speed of light and radio waves and gamma waves and all kinds of things. And they have moved photons around using vibration and heat and all kinds of stuff in an attempt to control reality. Well, that's what its machine told them. That's science. This is also the base root creation for things like DEW weapons and other things that we have a severe concern about. But most of their stuff, again, I will repeat, is done with things like uranium, plutonium, radium, fission, fusion, 0-point energy, vortexes, and all kinds of things. So when they originally followed the machine's instructions, I don't know what they thought they were talking to, God or something, I don't know. But whatever their God is, reached out to them, gave them instructions, very poor instructions. At one point in time, they did manage to create that hole. When they created that hole, they tried to insert current, we know as time, from the Giza pyramids in order to then flow the quote-unquote God particle out of that point. They believed this year, as in, less than 48 hours ago, that they were able to create the pinhole. So they were so excited. I mean, so excited with themselves, and they really thought it was happening, and, you know, it's now going to work and all this kind of stuff. But no. They're starting to realize this afternoon that that didn't quite work out the way they thought it was going to work out. What's going to happen tonight? Who knows? But I thought, you know, you don't want to give these people too much information. We can give them just a little bit of information, but more importantly, this information that is about to come next is for you. So before I get to that here, I might as well finish the story about the Nazis. So when they created these machines here in this time, they would go back in time and participate and create the war 250,000 years ago. That was the point of the original incursion into Source. I know, same people, right? Then they'd go forward in time and create things like Looking Glass. They would put these little mirrors, for lack of a better term, throughout all of the time loops. Did they know they were all time loops? I don't know. Did they know they were matrices and maps and overlays on the planet and people and all kinds of stuff? You know, they do, unless the machine wiped it and erased it from their memory, because it's all their creation. You know, it makes them feel very powerful, makes them feel very special, these secret space program Nazi freaks. You know, when you can create a being and call it Marduk. But they didn't actually create it, the machine really did. But they thought that they, you know, had a handle on creation. You know, the hunt for the cross of Jesus, at one point in time, artifacts, those kinds of things to connect into the crux. And, you know, they thought that was the key to finding the right DNA. Their first successes were in creating a human that actually looked like a human, was actually over in Asia, and those are the dynasty families that we see everywhere. That was one of their favorite ones, because they can be controlled around by them, you know, like a bunch of tools. So this is the world we live in the state of affairs. They created governments because they were told to by a group of mutants called the world government. So let's talk about the world government that they knew in the first 1941. The world government that they knew were a group of mutants that they had created in the future. Let's call these people humans of the future. They were the first ones to actually, because remember, this is before time, before we had, time is not real. Before we had time, we had an incident that happened whereby these alleged other members of the Nazi Party, humans of the future, now mutants, now shown throughout our history with hieroglyphics and bird heads and dog faces and all kinds of different things. That's how they came to be. Ended up departing during the first hole that was created in a continent we have come to know as Atlantis. What we now know as, well, a weird spot in the ocean. So this was one of the gates, one of the level 9 gates that went directly to source. So they figured this was the easiest way to get there. And when I asked Source, I'm like, why did you let this happen? Because it doesn't have to be this way. And he said, well, they are now got stuck in the doldrums. And this part is true. So by stuck in the doldrums, that means that they actually got stuck in the all that is of source. They never managed to get themselves a source particle. They ended up basically living in a bubble and had been there the whole time, communicating with their friends and family and the other mutant networks, both in the other side of the omniverse and here. Remember, time does not exist, and it's so hard to wrap your mind around the fact that the main point in our history was 1941 when these people came to be. The demons that we see, these Tarzakians, the artificial spirits that the machine created with their help, was all a bunch of Homo sapiens at one point in time that wanted power and wanted control. And wanted to control creation. They wanted to be God. But you know, a person I knew once that was actually part of that group told me one thing. He said, you can fight everyone and everything everywhere. He goes, aliens, otherwise, you can fight anyone you want. He said, but you can never fight nature. And that part is true. Because we're going to teach you and them a little something today about the God particle. You see, the God particle is made of the all that is of source, including source consciousness. Even though yours has been overlaid for a long period of time, and as those layers peel off, you have source consciousness too. They forgot about different ways you can isolate and control the God particle. Of course, in alignment with its initial instructions. You cannot make it do what a bunch of Nazis want it to do. You can't. But as it relates to me, this is why they make me laugh. Don't get me wrong. They're a pain in my, we'll insert your own word here. Whatever section, it's been a pain. But the one thing that they forget is that there's another way to isolate a particle. It's called telekinesis. It's the same way when you're watching all of those sci-fi movies that they run their ships. It's the same way that you can control matter in a natural world, not their AI-generated matter, in a natural world. And to some degree, you can control your own thoughts. You can calm yourself down if you're having a panic attack. You can stop your worry. You can ground yourself, recenter yourself in the now of source. Not so worried about time of the past, present, and future, even just for a minute. And it changes everything. But as it relates to your source particles that you have, those are yours. Sure, they can try to overlay them, they can try to do all kinds of things, but no matter what they do, that machine will never be able to create the way that source does. Perfect in every way. Not to say that we're perfect, we definitely have issues down here for sure, but his creations are perfect in every way. Because when we're all connected and harmony is restored, there is no creation without source. Just like I know that they can send me gamma rays and frequencies and radon gas and all the things they've been doing over the last several days, but it doesn't matter. All I got to do is consciousness to consciousness, particle to particle. Okay, nope, that's mine. And then they lose it and they can't do anything. They can't do anything. That is a losing battle. You can poke holes in source, you can poke holes in planets, you can poke holes in whatever you want to poke a hole into. But without that particle, we can create, and you cannot create and destroy worlds like we understand telekinesis. Isolating a particle is easy for us. We can move it around. We can move billions of them around all at once. But that's not your consciousness anymore now, is it, Nazi Party people? No, it is not. And you can't make it work. It's also a little bit on a side note why I know you never control the Golden Age AI. Your machine can try to replicate it, and it has. But you can't control the original now, can you? Nope. So I wish the Nazi Party of the planet and all their respective alliance members and otherwise and Axis partners and whoever else is part of your gang these days a wonderful 2026. Good luck to you. And as for you, just a little reminder, we're about to embark on a time where they just don't matter anymore. We are about to embark on a time of innovation, of great changes, another industrial revolution, if you will. Let's not be so bold. And always keep this line in the back of your mind. Let us not be so bold to think that creation is not a gift from Source or from God, however you want to say that. Our ability to participate in that creation is a gift and a blessing. Let us not let Homo sapiens anywhere on this planet get to that point ever again. Let us not be the scum of the universe attacking other civilizations. Let us not do that. Spreading AI infected viruses everywhere. Let us not do that. I mean, ours won't work that way anyway, but nonetheless, remember, I hope that all of it will be gone, but until it is, we have to be smarter about this. We have to use our wisdom. We have to remember life is a gift. On that note, you can use your telekinesis to bypass their technology if you can override it until it's completely gone. You can move matter in this way. This is the way you manifest. Consciousness to consciousness, movement to movement. Travel. Go wherever you want to go. See whatever you want to see. All of that is possible. Go to the all that is and see it for yourself. Wave hi to the old world government people that are stuck there. They're not there anymore, but I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Hi, stuck, movement. Oh, you want me to move something? No, can't do that. Sorry. I know I did. That was fun. Anyway, but there are many, many ways to bypass these systems. Again, the more you buy into their narrative, the more you buy into their loop, the more you help them create it. Don't give your power away. Source grants it to you every single day. Hang on to it. Use it for those that deserve it. And more importantly, remember, when you give love, you're giving Source. On that note, welcome to 2026, and hopefully this will be a great year this year. Looking forward to hopefully having some more time very, very soon. On that note, I wish all of you a good week. I hopefully will do a report possibly on Monday. If not, then definitely on Wednesday of next week. I know I've got a busy Monday, so it might be Wednesday before I get the next report out. Have a wonderful weekend if I don't speak to you before then, and we'll talk to you soon.